And why not the amateur hour? Consider the food chain of the average drug corner, the ready fodder for all the AMBO runs and police calls. At the top are, of course, the dealers, ranging from disciplined New York boys to 15-year-old locals who manage to parlay Nike and Nautica money into a package of their own. The stereotypes no longer apply. Every now and then a showpiece with gold chains and an Armani shirt pops out of a Land Rover with custom rims, but for the most part, there's little flash to the drug slingers making real money. There is no singular connection, no citywide cartel to enforce discipline and carve up territory. Looking up the skirt of the wholesale market from Fayette and Monroe, the drug sources are random and diffuse. A supplier could be a 25-year-old Nigerian, fresh from airport customs, or a New Yorker in his 30s, with a line back to his uncle in the Bronx. A 17-year-old junior at Southwestern who sat down next to the right kid in homeroom. Or even a 50-year-old veteran of the old West Side heroin organizations, coming home from Marion or Lewisburg after doing 10 of a 25-year stint and hooking up with some younger heads for one last fling. The product is, by and large, ready to sell. Gone are the days of uncut dope on the table and 4 or 5 gangsters battling the scale, trying to get the purity down and maximize profit. Gone are the cut buddies, who could wield the playing cards and mannitol with skill to ensure a proper package. Much of what sells on a Baltimore corner is purchased as a pre-packaged item with little assembly required. A G-Pack of 100 Coke vials sold on consignment can make you $1,000 with 600 kicked back to the supplier. Do that a couple times, then ride the bus or the rails to New York, catch the RERT up to Morningside Heights or the Grand Concourse and lay down the grip. What comes back is pre-cut product, with the equivalent number of vials all neatly wrapped. No math, no chemistry. A 6th grader with patience and a dull blade can fill the vials and be on a corner inside of an hour. Do that 2 or 3 times. Ride the rails with $1,000 or so, and you can come back home with 2 full ounces. Turn that over, even allowing for short counts and spillage and fuck-ups, you've got 5,000 or 6,000. Same game, different numbers with dope, but either way, you're a businessman. On most corners, if you can last 2 weeks without messing up, you're the reincarnation of Mayor Lansky. The bottom line is this: anyone who can work the numbers, dodge the stick-up boys, and muster enough patience to stand on a corner for 6 hours a day can call himself a drug dealer. Serving the larger street dealers are a host of employees, a few working for profit, most for product, but all within a fragile hierarchy, a structure predicated on such short supply qualities as trust and reliability. You get to be a runner because a dealer trusts you to handle the dope and coke directly, to bring it in small quantities from the stash to the corner all day long without succumbing to the obvious temptations. A runner who proves himself time and again, who won't cheat his boss by lightening the product, can step up. He might handle some of the money, or, in the dealer's absence, supervise the street sales. He might just make lieutenant. On the other hand, a runner who fucks up is on his way to becoming a tout. Touts less trusted, are there to promote the product and bring in business. All are fiends. Some are 10 or 20-year veterans of the corner, and consequently, only a rare few, Fat Kurt for one, can be relied upon to handle product. Touting is day work, a meat market selection, with the dealers hiring their help each morning and paying them for the most part in coke and dope. Touts serve as living billboards, walking, talking advertisements for the chemicals coursing through their bodies. A tout who staggers to his post and simply stands there, vacant-eyed, at a 30-degree junkie lean, telling passers-by that the spider bags are a bomb, is earning his keep. Rain or snow or gloom of night, he's out there on a double shift for 3 or 4 blasts a day, and if he's lucky, 10 or 20 or $30 in cash. No health benefits, no supplemental life, no pension. As much as any working man, the drug corner tout is a soul in desperate need of a union. Below the touts are the lookouts, the last hired and first fired of the corner world. Standing guard at the frontiers of the empire are the very young and the very damaged. For the children, it's a lark, trying their hands at the game for the first time, scooting around on bikes or riding the top of a mailbox. It beats the hell out of 6th grade social studies, and for a few hours' effort, you're up $20 or $30 with very little risk. For the walking wounded, the low-bottom dope fiends who aren't allowed within a block of a stash, standing lookout is the last chance to get a free shot. They also serve who stand and wait, eternally on the spy for knockers, rollers, and, of course, the stick-up crews. They spend hours chained to their post, watching the endless flow of traffic for the blue bubbles of the marked cars, or the small trunk antennas that are the telltale badge of an unmarked cavalier. And God help the lookout who forgets to look both directions on one-way streets like Fulton and Fayette. Most of the rollers will play the sneak and drive their cruisers the wrong way. Stray off post or take a nod, and a lookout stands a good chance of seeing the business end of an employer's aluminum bat. And so, all day, every day, they're raising up, sounding the alarm with a loud bark or whistle. They're raising shouts of 5-0 or time out, ringing from the 4 points of the compass, giving warning that Huffam or Pitbull is looking for an easy lockup, or that a stick-up artist like Odell is on safari with his 4-4. On the demand side of the market are, of course, the fiends, grazing around the oasis day and night, wandering from one crew to the next in search of that perfect blast. And they, too, must be serviced by a coterie of specialists. The shooting galleries, vacant or near-vacant row houses, battered by constant traffic, emptied of all valuables, are manned by a service industry all their own. The keepers of the inn guard the door, charging $1 or $2 for entry, maybe less if a fiend is willing to share some of the hype. For the price of admission, you get a patch of solid floor, a choice of bottle caps, a pint or so of communal water, and if you're lucky, a book of dry matches or a shared candle. You bring your own spike, but if you don't have one, there will likely be someone else at or near the gallery selling works for a couple of bucks. Either that, or you can walk the block or two to the established Needle House, the home of some profit-minded diabetic, and get fixed for $1. At last, when you're equipped and ready, but can't seem to find a vein, Help is as near as the house doctor, the happy troglodyte wearing shoes decorated with candle drippings, the healer who spends all night and day hunting wayward arteries for fiends lacking the skill or the patience or both. But it doesn't end there. At the urban watering hole, the employment opportunities of sellers and users compete with those of the vanguard of raw capitalism, the true hucksters, trying to sell steakless sizzle. Anyone can market dope and coke on the corner, but it takes a special breed to serve up nothing and call it something. Baking soda, or bonita and quinine, B and Q, as dope, oregano as weed, battery acid as a ready rock. Once chased from the corners by the organized drug trade, the burn artists have returned to a golden era. They stand where they want, sell what they want, and risk only the rage of their victims, or, in a rare instance, the ire of a street dealer whose business or reputation suffers by proximity. There are the other outcasts too, those with no temperament for sales or service, just a willingness to risk all for a chance at the motherlode. The stash stealers, who will spend time watching the runners and touts, tracking them to the ground stash, and then waiting for the perfect moment. Or the stick-up boys, the crazed loners who gather information about this corner and that, tracing a product back until they're coming through the door of a stash house in an adrenaline rush, staking everything on the premise that no dealer will come back on them, that their ferocity will not be matched. A few of West Baltimore's stick-up men have survived a decade or more, but most carry the doomed, thousand-yard stare of short-timers. Once, a stick-up boy could go into battle relying at least on the organizational structure. They knew who they were going up against and the consequence of those actions. But today, even 15-year-old hoppers have a loaded .38 hidden in the valley, and their job is little better than a death wish. Crowd them together, each pursuing his or her immediate ends, and what governs the corner no longer resembles either a corporate model or the orderly economics of the marketplace. It is instead the raw anarchy of the natural world. At the watering hole, the strong survive, the weak perish, and self-preservation and self-gratification dictate that any conceivable act of brutality or betrayal can and will occur. Social norms, morality, the values of the civilization that created the American cities, precious little of it remains at the oasis itself, where everyone must come to drink, regardless of the risk. Though it began as a criminal subterfuge and grew to become a neighborhood bazaar, the urban drug corner is now the social framework through which almost every soul in these battered communities must pass. Some, perhaps, will destroy themselves immediately. Others will lose themselves in the mix. And a few stoics, astonishingly, will pass through the corner unscathed and uncorrupted. But pass through they must. Because in places like Fayette Street, the corner is the neighborhood. Yet, there are still rules to this place. Even anarchy creates its own axioms. The old code of the dealers is useless now. The new rules are different and have to be. Because, by necessity, any new logic must allow for a mother to stand on Monroe Street and tout red tops with her 2-year-old in tow. It must allow for a fiend's theft of the television set from the recreation center, of chalices from the corner churches, of the rent money from his mother's bedroom. And the rulers of the corner cannot stand if they prohibit a 13-year-old from holding up a single vial of Coke and telling a playmate with brutal honesty that for one of these, your mother will step up and suck my dick. Make no mistake, no one likes to play under the rules. No one on Fayette Street respects them or regards them as fair or worthy or in any way justified. Even the lowest needle freak knows guilt at the instant he's doing dirt. But knowing it changes nothing. The rules are not to be trifled with. They are not arbitrary, nor are they simply an afterthought or rationalization. The new postulates and proofs of the corner embrace the chaos, written as they are in an environment perfectly indifferent to anything beyond dope and coke. To exist in that environment, to seek or sell dope and coke, and at the same time to carry the burden of an outside morality, is to invite abuse and failure. To ignore the rules, to try to live above them, is to walk blindly into the maw of the thing, risking destruction for something as vague and ethereal as human decency. The rules of the game are a two-step program to non-recovery, as valid a living credo as anything on those pamphlets that get tossed around at Narcotics Anonymous meetings. First among them is a basic declaration of intent, as all-encompassing as the first commandment to roll down the slopes of Sinai. 1. Get the blast. Get it and live. For whomsoever believeth in good dope shall live forever, or if not forever, at least for that sugar-sweet moment when he chases down a vein, slams it home, and discovers what they're saying about them green tops is true. The shit is right. And if the shit ain't right, if he cooks it up and guns it home and it's B&Q, or just enough to get him out of the gate, then the first rule still applies. Go back to the corner and get the blast, and then do it again, because the next one, or the next one after, will be the true dose, the one to justify all faith. 10 or 20 or 30 years of addiction, it doesn't matter. Every fiend in the street is trying to recreate the first perfect shot of dope or coke, the one that told him this was what he wanted in life. The fiends are at it morning, noon, and night. None of them ever quite getting there, getting just close enough to feed the hunger. And if by some miracle one nails it, if he catches that perfect wave and experiences the chemical epiphany in the back bedroom of some rotting two-story pile, swaying and nodding and scratching to some angelic melody in the kingdom to come, if he can stumble back across the flaking plaster and paint, smile stupidly and with utter reverence, proclaim the shit a bomb. What price glory? Save for another caper, for another $10, and another trip back to the corner, hoping against hope that the vials are still packed, that whoever put that good dope on the street hasn't watered down the back end of the package. If faith and spirituality and mysticism are the hallmarks of any great church, then addiction is close to qualifying as a religion for the American underclass. If it was anything else, if at Fayette and Monroe there was a single shard of unifying thought that could compete with the blast itself, then the first rule would be null and void. But no, the blast is all, and its omnipotence not only affirms the first rule, but requires the second. 2. Never say never. On the corner, The survivors do what they've got to do and they live with it. When mere vice is sufficient to get the blast, it ends there. But eventually it's sin that is required. And when sin falls short, absolute evil becomes the standard. Those who play the game and deny the progression, who insist that there are some moral limits that they will not violate, are forever surprising themselves. Never say never, cry the sages, because a true believer pays absolute homage to addiction. He turns to face it like a Muslim turns toward Mecca. The transformation is gradual but certain, and wrapped in a new vernacular of moral denial. In the thought and speech of the corner, misdemeanors become not crimes, but capers, adventures. Those selling drugs are no longer peddling dope, but serving people. Those buying the drugs are not addicts or junkies, pejorative terms of an earlier era, but dope fiends, a term that captures the hunger and devotion of the corner chase, rather than simple dependency. A player who undertakes an armed robbery, a street shooting, or a carjacking is no longer committing a felony, but simply doing a deed. A burn bag sold to a friend, a stash stolen from a first cousin's bedroom is no longer a betrayal, but merely getting over. When you do these things, of course, you're simply playing the game. When these things are done to you, it's the work of a crudball, a cold motherfucker with no feelings or conscience. The term is never self-applied. Corner logic doesn't work that way. One's own crudball adventures are not, of course, regarded as such. The most successful of them are recounted by the perpetrators in a bemused tone that suggests professional pride. The rest of the herd, too, can often manage a grudging respect for a player who breaks new ground in doing unto others, so that a crudball act that consistently yields a profit can easily rise in stature. It becomes, in corner parlance, a dope fiend move. It's almost better to be born into the world of a dope fiend move and stay there than to arrive there as a matter of necessity, burdened by ethical baggage that serves no useful purpose. That can only make a player vulnerable. So it is with Gary McCullough, who can't easily justify anything worse than the penny ante caper. And so it is with Fran Boyd, who has acquired an arsenal of fiendish moves, only to be constrained by a lingering sense of obligation to her sons. In the end, the corner best serves the hardcore, the junkyard dogs with neither the time nor the inclination for pity. It's for Ronnie Boyce, Gary's girl, who never misses her shot, though her children are running the streets. Or John John, training 12-year-olds to sling his bags on Gilmore. Or Bunchy, who can make the rent money disappear month after month, knowing that in the end, her brother Scoogie will shell out what's needed to prevent the eviction. Or Dink Dink, selling burn bags to fiends 3 times his age, and almost hoping that they come back on him, figuring he'll go to his 9 and catch himself a body. By nature or by nurture, the mindset of the dope fiend move, once acquired, becomes a lifelong companion. Once in the game, it's hard for a player to forget the lessons learned and that operate in the legitimate world. The dope fiend move becomes the immediate answer to all problems. The short-term response to life's long-term struggles. Off the corner and loosed upon the legitimate world, it's the lie on the housing application, the copied essay on the community college midterm, the petty theft from the register, and ultimately, the justification for returning to the world of the corner. It's a new way of thinking that cannot be challenged with jobs or educational opportunities or drug treatment. Because once you see the world as a dope fiend does, you can't see it any other way. A few years in the mix, and the only voice in your head becomes the collective wail of the corner itself. How could it be otherwise? Day after goddamn day, the corner proves itself, and, by extension, every idiot on the corner is proven as well. Touts, runners, fiends, they're always where you expect them to be, standing around and serve prophets of the new logic. They speak and you believe. So when you go up to Fayette and Monroe and hear that your rap buddy just fell dead after slamming some red tops, you barely miss a beat. Fuck it, the prophet tells you. He didn't know how to shoot coke, not the way you do. Never mind that you were gunning with the dead man for a decade. Never mind that you shared a hype with him 100 times. Never mind that he's pounded on your chest to bring you back more than once. He ain't shit now. Just another no-doping, skin-popping, scramble-shooting punk, says the corner. Nigger wasn't serious like you. Couldn't handle that good shit. And you believe it? You also want the red tops. The corner prophet knows. You go to court, and the downtown judge gives you 5 years suspended. Tells you you're on supervised probation. Fuck that, says the prophet. If you report and then mess up, they can find you. If you don't report, they ain't got no record of you. And you, of course, do like the prophet says, thinking you're getting over when you ain't. A month or two later, you take a charge, and they drag your ass from city jail to the downtown courthouse. The same prune-faced judge looks down at you, talking about how you're in violation of probation, talking about how you're going to eat the whole 5 years. And you do the bit. Come back from Hagerstown, go back up to the same corner, and find that motherfucker. Yo, what up? And the prophet just looks at you like you're some kind of fool, talking about how you can get locked up for that shit, saying you should have reported. And you don't miss a beat. You nod your head in agreement because the man's a goddamn prophet. His shit has to be true. And when the next problem comes around, there you are on the same corner, looking for more of the same. I'm saying I can't get rid of this hole, man, you tell him, rolling up your sleeve to show a dime-sized crater. The prophet just shakes his head, and a neophyte jumps into the lull, offering advice. Ain't no hole, man, says the newcomer. That an abscess. You gotta get some ointment. Go to the emergency room. They gotta give it to you. Clean it right up. Fuck that, you tell him. I'm saying you go there. You gotta wait all day. Man, they don't got no time for no niggers. See what I'm saying? I can't be doing that. I'm saying this nigger got things to do. And of course, the prophet finally steps up. Shit, you want to clean it up or what? Yeah, what I'm saying, get yourself some eggs. 2 should do it. Boil them up in a pot till they're hard. Then you gotta peel them real careful like. You want to get that thin skin be under the shell. You know what I'm talking about, be under the shell? Yeah. You gotta peel that off and stick it over the holes. Wrap it up with some gauze. Word up, 2 weeks. It'll be like these. The prophet shows you the back of his left hand. Then the kind of scar you get, you're not sure. Fuck it. I don't give a shit if your motherfucking arm falls off, says the prophet. That's on you. No, I'm saying I ain't heard about doing that. That's all. I'm saying it might work. You're probably right. 2 weeks and a dozen eggs later, you're pulling the gauze off your arm, and of course, the hole is now the size of a quarter. And when you go back to the corner prophet, he tells you he don't know shit about eggs. Potatoes, tell you. Boiled potatoes are the cure. For a moment or two, you shake your head and curse the prophet, but 2 hours later, you're piercing spuds at the Superfresh. Though in the end, you'll say to hell with it. No time for boiling shit up or waiting around emergency rooms. The corner knows. You're not about fixing the hole in your arm. You're about that blast. So you learn. The prophet never lies. He can't be wrong. As it is for every other wandering animal, the watering hole is the only truth you can afford. It owns you, uses you, kicks your ass, robs your mind, and grinds your body down. But day after lonesome day, it gives you life. For 20 on the hype, you believe.